I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
It's Friday, my dudes.
Thank God it's Friday.
Whilst we're still on gravity, guys, Josh, have you seen um, the debate still with it? And I just wanted to ask Zach if he'd give his definition again with regards to density and buoyancy, and then maybe give Brandon a chance to give his shout on it. It seems to be a current debate that's got quite heated recently. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I heard this morning's. That's what I was listening to when Zach rolled up in front of my house. I was watching the Flat Earth debates over there on Nathan Oakland 1980s channel. So I'd totally forgotten that he'd sucked me in again. And I totally forgot Zach was coming. And I was just sitting there listening to it on my phone and totally zoned in. And it's one of those things. It's I hate to see there's so much consternation tied up in this particular subject when it comes to gravity, especially because we have Arwen there. Arwen seems to be always against the flow, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's just that not everybody understands the why, so it becomes an issue. And that seems to be the main thing I've taken away from it again is it's still just this inability to ever really define, is it the cause? Is it the effect? Is it a force? Is it unicorn farts? What is it? What is causing up to be up and down to be down? So now I can be done filling because Zach is not here. He's just got a handful of food. So, yeah, I really dig Nathan Oakley's debates. And Anthony Riley just doesn't take any shit from anybody. So Arwen I don't know. I'm surprised Arwen is still there, is about how I have to sum this up. I know he's threatened to leave a few times, and I think he just needs to cut his losses and let them do their thing, and he can go. I think there's enough people that enjoy Arwen and watch Arwen when he goes live that he doesn't necessarily need to worry about Nathan Oakley and Anthony Riley and who the hell else that ever they managed to get wandering in there. So that's
No, but it's good debate because, like you say, nobody knows. I don't know. I have an idea, an inkling, a feeling, but like you said, it's not something that's definable at the moment for me. It's more a matter of, as it's showing to be, belief a bit in whatever model it is. Whether it's the only thing you can disprove is it's not mass attracting mass. Although I don't know if that's what Oren was going back to in reality.
Well, the thing about mass attracting mass, if you look up the scientific method, there's not one experiment that proves it. And any force can create an up from down, and even mainstream physics, and we've all heard of the electromagnetic field that is surrounding us. It affects everything. Like your remote controller, your lighter, your spoon, even biological stuff, you, me, so like the electromagnetic field creates that up from down for us, and that's the thing. And it's sad because, mainstream physics recognizes this electromagnetic field and it's measured and it's like 100 volts per yard. I think it's like 100 meters per yard. I believe. I'm not like I said, I'm not a physics teacher, but I believe it's 100 volts per yard. And it goes up to like 50,000 kilometers, something like insane, like amount of like energy. And like, you can actually measure this as you go higher. And then you sit back and you go, okay, everything Tesla did was based off electromagnetics, and you see the dust like on like a like a TV screen, especially the older TV screens that had a lot of energy pumping through them. You'd see the dust like go to the screen and like stick to it, and then your mother would come over with the polisher or whatever and clean the TV screen off. That electromagnetic field is our force. You know, gravity is just literally the lie that, or is just it's the thing that makes up all the other lies. If you have no explanation, just say gravity. You know, the equilibrium of, you know, around the earth that separates the vacuum of space. Oh, it's gravity. It's just slowly dissipating, but perfectly forming this shield around us while we fly through space at millions of miles per hour. And then when you actually break down gravity, it's just the lie that holds all the other lies together. So you go into, black holes. Is there a scientific experiment that proves them? Is there anything under the scientific method that proves them? No. Dark matter. Is there anything, with the scientific method that proves them? No. There's nothing. It's all just theoretical stuff. So as far as gravity, you're just tripping over electromagnetism and using it as your excuse to prove why all these other phenomenons happen in the vacuum of the space above us. I mean, you look at the moon, it's pulling towards the earth, but we're pulling towards it, and it just remains perfectly gridlocked and nobody ever crashes into each other. I mean, it's pretty absurd when you actually look into it. And I think gravity is just that go-to lie that people just you can't explain it. And gravity got so absurd that mainstream science started calling it selective gravity. And you think like, well, why could a blade of grass in Australia just grow straight up so perfectly, or a butterfly just fly away so perfectly, but yet up here it's like keeping a cargo ship, planted on top of the ocean? And like it just does not, none of the math adds up. And it got to the point where they actually had to invent something called selective gravity, as if gravity was not fucking dumb enough on its own. They had to invent selective gravity, and it's like it chooses certain things to like hold down and let up. And a balloon just completely destroys gravity. So is that an anti-gravity device? Like, is it just not selecting that balloon to go up? And then what happens at that equilibrium when that balloon goes up? Like, is it just start thinking on its own? Like they make gravity almost like a computer program. It's when you sit back and you actually examine it, and you actually think of that heliocentric model and how gravity is doing all these different cool things, and even if you take the G out of the mathematical formula. And I'm not a math genius, and I say that straight up. I think probably a lot of us on this show, math was probably not the strong point, but you can create a formula to prove anything. It doesn't make it true. I can write a formula to how many steps a Sasquatch takes in a year, or how much mileage he travels in a year. It doesn't prove the Sasquatch exists, and it doesn't prove my results to be true. But if I get a group of 20 scientists to agree on it, and then we pump it out to the mainstream media, next thing you know, there's no problem. A blade of grass and a butterfly can fly off in Australia while we're keeping a friggin', a ship down and here up in New England where I'm from. When you observe it and you actually like critically think about the term gravity, it becomes the most pathetic term, and it was literally their scapegoat to all the other lies like dark matter and black holes and all these other things that they just can't explain, why things happen.
I think that was a great answer. I couldn't agree more. And look how much it's generating in terms of debate and stuff. I mean, so you drop something and it falls to your feet. That to me it's just common sense. I don't really care what gravity is, because
right.
The only people who care about defending and making a big deal about what gravity is, or why does it fall down and why not sideways, are the heliocentrists that need gravity. It's one of their kingpins, their bridgestones, that they need it in order for their entire model to work. And if you can chip holes in or chip parts off their their god of gravity, then their entire system just crumbles to nothing. So I just don't really care what gravity is or what makes things go up or down. To me, it's just density. It hits the ground, or buoyancy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the one problem though with that is that a lot of flat earthers, like say you go up to, you're debating somebody, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, and in there this person's educated, they know about forces. Like you still need an up from down. So yes, density and buoyancy, that argument works magnificent for us. I mean, it literally explains it, and it's observable, testable, repeatable, and you can, it's there. You can actually observe this. That's the best thing about it. But what mainstream physics and everything else, you're right. You still need an up from down though. And what people do at that point is they just completely dismiss this electromagnetic field and they go to gravity, and that's our up from down. And that's like why relativity best describes gravity. And then you go, okay, so a theory best describes another theory. That's like double theoretical shit right there. Like you're talking nonsense. Yeah, it's insane at that point, and people dismiss the electromagnetic field. So as flat earthers and to the people that are listening that are flat earthers, look into the electromagnetic field and this static charge that's around us all the time. Because if you're ever debating or you're really coming across somebody who knows what they're talking about, you need to have that up from down. No matter what, you need an up from down. But
that's what I go to is as well as the electrostatic force, is the fact that you're in a positive and a negative system. And Zach described it beautifully the other day, and Brenda who called in, of it being a flow, like a river flow or a motorway or something. And we're just in the flow where down is your feet and up is above your head. And if you need to get to those sort of technical explanations, I agree there has to be an up and a down, but the only thing that needs to cause an up and a down is a tiny little variance in potential, and then you've got the dust.
Is defining the orientation in which the buoyant forces reorganize themselves. That's all it is. It's not necessarily a force in of itself. It's just a definition of orientation, as in the electrical conductivity. That to me would seem the sensible way, but that's why Zach puts it more eloquently.
And I apologise if because I haven't been listening to these gravity debates, because basically I don't want to be going back on high blood pressure pills, and I just I have lack of time. But so yeah, if I've said something like the word experiment when I shouldn't have done, then bear with me. I'm catching up. But maybe it's a good time to get Zach in to tell us again about how he describes gravity.
Yeah, it's real simple. According to mainstream physics, there are four forces in nature. There's a strong nuclear force, a weak nuclear force, an electromagnetic force, and then there is the gravitational force. Now, I don't even care if people want to still call it gravity. Just don't think of it as mass attracting mass. Even in MIT physics classes that Edwin Lewin did back in 2011, that he has here on YouTube, anybody can go watch them, his 802 lectures. He says gravity doesn't come into play until you start talking about planets and stars and suns and moons.
Great point.
Gravity is not what holds us here on Earth. Electricity holds us here on Earth. There's an electric field. There's a positive above our head and a negative below our feet. And you can just call that gravity if you want.
That's the cathode and the anode. 100%.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's a flow in between it. Now, if you have two large plates, the flow will be equally dispersed everywhere near the center of that plate. It'll be equal everywhere, just kind of like gravity almost is. And then if there is undulations in either of the plates, then gravity is going to be a little bit different there. But that's all it is. It's just another form of electricity. There is no special mass attracts mass nonsense.
Josh, sorry, Zach, you've just confirmed to me that we are living in a petri dish with a petri lid on top. So you're telling me the firmament is a flat plate? I
don't know.
knew it.
We
I
would have
knew
to-
it.
You'd have to be able to measure the electric field, but I've thought about it a lot, and it's nearly impossible. You'd have to know how much water is at every height. I mean, there's so many different variables that Mother Nature or the Creator throws into it that actually measuring it properly, and we can't even get high enough to measure it properly. We don't know how high it goes.
But I'm semi-joking, but it would also explain why, tropographic scatter and bouncing radio waves and things like this is so predictable and so... I mean, if it was a dome, it would be... you'd have to bung it through AutoCAD to get the right angle and stuff. If it's a flat plate or whatever, then it would be very easy. And of course, I'm completely speculating that there's a plate above us at all. But I must say, the evidence and the preponderance of evidence is pointing to some sort of barrier above us, without a doubt. Have you got any thoughts on that, Brendon?
Well, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, obviously, for that model to work, there has to be something above us. Whether it doesn't have to be flat, it just has to be a lid, per se, or some sort of dome covering.
Petri dish.
Yeah, petri dish. But the funny thing about it is, okay, so you take that model and you put something above us, and then you have this electromagnetic field, and it's measurable, up to certain distances and stuff. And like we said earlier, that mainstream physics agrees with this and shows this as factual evidence. It's demonstrable. That's the best thing about it, is like you can actually make this model, whereas then you take this globe Earth and everything just falls apart 100%. I mean, everything, the mathematics, and I try to stay away from math for only one reason, is that a lot of scientists have, they use math to create these formulas. That's why I use that like Sasquatch thing. Like I could write a mathematical formula for anything. It doesn't make any of it true. Whether the numbers equal out to a equation, it doesn't make any of it true. But at least this flat Earth model, this geocentric model, at least it's demonstrable. Like you can actually prove that. Whereas in the heliocentric model is just 100%. I don't care what anybody says. There is not one demonstrable thing that I can go out, use the scientific method, and prove it. Whereas in flat Earth, you're looking at hundreds. I mean, there's multiple things you could go out and prove it, and that's why this whole, whatever the fuck is above us, I don't know if it's some sort of plasma. I don't know if it's there's people speak of it being glass, ice. They speak of it. There's a lot of things. All I know is that our model works with something above us.
Well, I mean, you hit on a good point there about being able to make a model, and like you say, I mean, we no matter what we're speculating about, we can create a table with a paper mache ice covering and a little pond in the middle and a little UN flag map in the middle of that, and fill it with water and prove it, but not prove it, but at least demonstrate it, like you say. But yep. And you're absolutely right, and it's laughable, really, when you get to the heliocentric model. You first have to suspend that ball in a vacuum and then apply water, and that's where it just falls to the floor, and the water does too. So you're absolutely right. It's they can't even make a model.
Yeah, it's completely 100% non-demonstrable. There's nothing like I could do and go out and buy equipment. So like a lot of flat earthers, like the Nikon P900 and infrared thermometers to test the moon's temperature. I mean, all these cool things that we can do now. As I said earlier as well, is that technology is actually caught up to to mainstream lives, and it just all came down to like whether it was affordable or not. And now it's affordable. The cameras, the infrared thermometers, all these things that we can use to prove where we live. If somebody had come up to me and said, hey, let's do this experiment to prove that we live on a spinning ball shooting through space. Okay, all right, let's get the technology. It's it's just, you can't do it. It's all theoretical. There's not one demonstrable experiment that proves we spin, or that proves that we're shooting through space at all 5 ungodly speeds. You break down the helium. I mean, it's just insane when you break down the model, and then like I said, the biggest problem for the elites is not only the snowball effect, but the fact that technology is not only cheaper, but it's readily available for us to go out and purchase these things and do these experiments ourselves. So it's saying, okay, what can I do to prove the globe model? That's what most flat earthers do. That they say, like, a lot of people become flat earthers when they go, this is insane. You know what? It's really triggering me inside. Let me get a fucking P900. Boom. He goes to P900 and he goes and films something from 100 miles away. And he goes, all right, Pythagoras was a liar. At that point, like, there's something not adding up. And we're just living that beautiful time of life where we get to be the ones exposing these lies. And technology is it's basically the nail in the coffin for them. They use it to convince us a certain model, CGI and all these images and Photoshop and stuff. And then once it became readily available to us with computer technology and stuff that was sold to us, you can go out and buy a $39 infrared thermometer, check the moon's temperature. Go ahead and do it. Anybody that's listening, go out, spend $40. I mean, is it really going to hurt you? If you can't, fine. But if you have $40, go out, buy an infrared thermometer at like a Home Depot or something. Go out there and test the moon's temperature. Okay, go and buy a camera and test the curvature at the beach. And you go back and say, okay, well, that's not true. I can actually prove this now. Boats aren't disappearing over a curvature. The moonlight is definitely colder in direct light. And you go, okay, well, why aren't they changing this in the textbooks? We can actually prove this ourselves. And they won't change it. They'll just keep defending their lies.
That's right.
And yeah.
Part of the problem is lack of credibility, and this is probably a good point to bring in that Dr. John D stuff. There's been a lot of stuff with like Nathan's pictures of the Isle of Man and so on and so forth, whether it's stuff that's looming and miraging and all sorts of stuff. But there's a guy I'll just screen share. That I think I got Antonio first. Brought him up is Dr. John D. And
John D.
Yeah, that's John D for capital D. That's
right, not DEE then.
No, it's a little.
That would be interesting. But it is interesting. Sorry,
he's a guy that's got a PhD in spectrophotometry, and basically goes through all the science. Shout out to his channel. There it is. So he's done a lot of stuff and goes into great detail, adding validity to these sort of tests we can do ourselves, seeing and viewing things. And he uses all their models and then uses just standard flat land.
Hey, Adam, one thing.
Yeah.
Can you click close that little Skype window that's popping up right there? And as a heads up, that is a setting somewhere in Skype, I do believe, is allowing that window to pop up or to not allow that window to pop up. Just so you know.
Pop it away next time. So but pretty much the conclusions are that there's no way, even with bending of light, he uses all the metabunk curve stuff, and he's quite careful, as you can see here, to make clear what his claims are. Like I said, he's cited his credentials. I'll leave those up for you to just look at what he doesn't say it proves. But what he does clearly say it proves is that the observations are only doable on a flat plane. So this is.
I wonder if this is the guy that I've been in contact with, who's a science teacher in London, or maybe even a professor. I don't know. And he was contacting me that he was bringing his students down to the south coast, to Brighton, I think it was, and they were coming back with anomalous results, and he didn't quite know how to go forward with this, and because he saw my work on the Isle of Portland. I just wonder, but we have been in contact with the guy, haven't we?
Yeah, so this is the guy you got me the email for, and he did say, asked him if he'd come on, and he says no, he don't want to. His work stands, and
I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that, especially if he's a PhD and he's a working PhD. If I was him, I wouldn't put anything of personal detail out there.
But it's very, very detailed, the stuff he goes through. He goes through all the barometric data consideration, and like I say, it's his specialty. So, like I say, I think it adds great credence to the observations that you can go out with. I think he's got like a P510 or something he's using.
But it was interesting what you were saying there, Brendon, that there are no empirical studies or experiments that you can do that show the Earth is spinning or that it's a ball. And conversely, I was going to say that there are numerous experiments out there that show the opposite, that it is stationary and it is predominantly flat. So I don't see they have a leg to stand on in the future.
They don't, and that's the thing. Like just take the P900 camera. I mean, this camera is literally destroying the model. And it got to the point like I wish I could go back 2 years and buy stock in like the Nikon P900 series or the P1. I mean, this camera is literally destroying the globe model, because you take this circumference of 24,000 miles, whatever it is, 24,000 miles, we'll just say, this 24,000 mile circumference ball Earth, and there has to be curvature. There has to be. If you're living on a ball, then there has to be it would be filmable by our today's technology. And I mean, this is a guy that got a picture not too long ago, and I don't know if he took it with a P900 or if he had like some whatever camera he was using, but he took a picture from 274 miles away, I believe it was, and it's the longest photo or the longest shot ever captured. And if you look up this photo, and then you take in the Pythagorean theorem, which is what mainstream science, whatever, uses as the ball Earth circumference, and that 8 inches per mile, and when you square the mile, you're talking like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of feet of curvature, and miles at that point. We're talking miles of curvature, but you can't find it. And that's the thing is, like, I'm going out, I go out, I bring my camera with me all the time. Anytime I think I could be filming something or capture something, I'll bring the P900. And if you look at episode 1 in the Future of Flat Earth, I captured Boston from just under 100 miles away. But I didn't just capture like some of the tips of the city or whatever, like the tallest buildings is the Prudential Center, the John Hancock, the Millennial Tower. I captured all these, and I got almost the entire buildings from a little bit under 100 miles away.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
and you're talking about the long distance photography world record, I think it is. It's and they're not flat earthers, by the way. They even have the curvature formula on their website, as far as I know. And I would imagine that they're such purists that it wasn't a P900. I would imagine they probably scoff or poo-poo the P900 because it is essentially sort of a point and shoot. It's not an SLR. I bet they do. I imagine a lot of them have tens of thousands of pounds worth of equipment and telescopes and everything else, and for something as cheap as the P900 to come out, and it's not cheap to me, that's for sure, but to them, I imagine that there would be some technical snobbery going on there, but really bang for the buck, that thing. And the P1000, is just going to slaughter this. But have you got those pictures available online somewhere? Don't say Facebook, please. Facebook.
We do have YouTube, but we use it as like a private channel to like edit and like get our videos ready and stuff. Because I work with Room Flip Productions, and it's a guy, Joel Justice. He's kind of one of those people like you never met, but you just, when you would meet him, you just give him the biggest friggin' hug you could possibly give. And me and Joel have been working together, and he became a mod and then became an admin of the Future Flat Earth. And we're just on the same like energy, like wavelength, and we operate the same way and stuff. But it's tough for us to, we're not sitting in the same room together. So we're making these videos and doing all the editing from, he's in Delaware and I'm in New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire. And anybody from the States, like the East Coast, we're about, we're a good distance away, 600-700 miles off the top of my head, probably. But we've never met each other, but we're like best friends, So I work with him, and, a lot of this footage that we use, if you look at the Future Flat Earth episode 1, we took every photograph, every video, the introduction, the music, everything you see on that episode was literally filmed by us. And so it's kind of tough for us to like. It's a lot different if you're working in a room with somebody. So we kind of just, we do the best we can working from a distance.
Where can we see that? Sorry, just butt in.
The Future of Flat Earth episode 1, I can actually get a link for you guys right now if you just hold on
cool.
1 second.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other one, sorry, I was just going to say the other one was the Real News Online. Is that?
Yep.
Excellent.
And you can never be sure if John is actually taking notes or just making you say it again so that when he listens back, he'll be sure to listen to it again.
I am taking notes. And I will listen back to it again, because I'm like that.
It's one of those really unique things. I think I've talked about it on here before. Just even in Flat Earth, you don't realize, but you're still pretty isolated if you just dwell in Twitter, or if you just dwell on Facebook, or if you just dwell in YouTube chats or on a YouTube channel. There's a whole world of people that you will never interact with.
Yep.
Flat earthers you've never heard of doing awesome stuff. But
Well,
there's just no way to correlate all of this stuff going on. I don't know how in my brain to
Well, we almost had it worked out today until Adam toasted the server.
But no, it's interesting you say that, Josh. Because to us here, when you say the name Nathan, we're obviously talking about Nathan Oakley. But
I know, right?
clearly, I mean, I've never heard of this other Nathan that Brendon talked about.
You've probably seen him. You just didn't know it was him. You've seen a globe sitting on top of his head with his sunglasses on.
That's him.
Nathan.
Okay, I know him well, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
Nathan Thompson is he is the like epitome of Flat Earth Facebook. I could not. They have a huge documentary coming out with him. He's a big part of it, and Nathan Thompson actually would drive. He drove around the country. He just stopped like a week or two ago, but he's been driving around the country. I'm talking from California to Boston to New Hampshire, down to Florida to Kentucky, Kansas. I mean, you name a city, this dude has been there, and this guy has been like pumping Flat Earth, like street activism. Like, I mean, amazing work. And this dude gets shitted on outfights because he has the largest Facebook group. So a lot of people just threaten him and like all this other shit. But I'll say about him, like I literally met him, and he was wearing a Flat Earth shirt, and I was like, dude, that Flat Earth shirt. And I have a Future Flat Earth hoodie on right now, in my living room. I just met him. He drove here from I forget, he was in like Philadelphia or something, and And I was like, I love that shirt, man. It's literally sitting in the back of my car right now. And he took it off his back and he goes, "This is for you," and just handed it to me. This guy that like literally was living out of his car, controlling the largest flat Earth group on Facebook, doing such cool shit, takes his shirt off and just gives it to me. And I took my future flat Earth hoodie off, and I was like, "Dude, here, you take this, I'll take that, man." Because I was honored to have him at my home. But that, so like this huge, like I think something on Vice was something about Nathan Thompson. I mean, and there was a huge stuff about him, and people say things about him, but I got to see the real him. Like this dude took his shirt off his back and just gave it to me. And as far as Nathan Thompson is concerned, go out to the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion group. Great group, and great bunch of people. And you'll see a lot of things on the internet that talk shit about him, but you'll see the other half, which is just, it shows who he really is and stuff. So it was a really cool thing becoming friends with him and being able to be a part of his journey traveling around the United States and all this stuff. I like, even when he came to my house, like I felt like I was like, oh, I got a celebrity in my fucking kitchen right now. So it was really cool, man. The guy's very down to earth and he's definitely somebody anybody you'd call. You broke down on the highway and you got a flat tire, like Nathan Thompson, hey, you'd call him and to come and pick you up, So that's the type of dude he is.
How do you spell Thompson? Because there's a billion ways of spelling it.
Thon. Oh no, excuse me. Th. Let me get it exactly right. I don't want to spell it wrong because I'll look at.
Yeah, right.
THOMPSON.
That's what I got. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, never heard of him, so I have to look him up. Maybe we can get him on the show if he's up for it. Oh,
he'd be down. He's a great guy. They even Korea, or South Korea, flew him out to South Korea or something like that, just to go out there and do a flat Earth conference and stuff like that. And I'll definitely talk to him, man. Get him on the show for you guys. That guy, he'd definitely be down to come and chat with you guys for sure.
That'd be really cool. So he didn't hand you the shirt and then ruin it by saying, "Could you just wash it and give it back to us?" As I'm living out of my car, but
he smelled kind of bad, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I gave him some deodorant, dude. It was, we had to wash him up a little bit. He was on a road. He was a little hell ride, it's not easy to travel around the United States and be at the best, every second of the day. So,
wait, we'd have to ask Zach that. Zach, how you smelling these days?
I was probably ripe when I showed up here today. I hadn't seen a sink since Tuesday morning. I had a shower. I've been staying at state parks that are free, that have vaulted toilets, and that's it. And then a water spigot.
Love it, man. Are you touring right now, or are you going out just spreading the word, or what's going on? Why is that?
Yeah, that's not my reason. I'm doing that just because that's what we do. But no, I'm going to find pretty much my teacher. I want to learn how to make medicine the right way. And I have this urge that there's somebody out there that's willing to teach me, and I'm going to go. I need to get out to the desert anyway for health reasons, drier climate and whatnot.
Yep.
But yeah, I've been called out to New Mexico since I was 20. I've been planning this. In the last 5 years, I've been planning it hardcore, getting prepared. And then it finally happened. Yeah, and I'm in St. Louis right now. I left just from northern Indiana, just south of Lake Michigan.
Nice.
Last Friday I left. Yeah, just taking my time, hitting a lot of parks, stuff like that. Taking a lot of pictures.
Changing down a gear. Nice.
Yeah, it's been very pleasant so far. Only had one bad day of rain and covered a lot of ground that day because I was trying to get west of the storm. But
would the storm be going? Yeah, I suppose it would, wouldn't it, on a spinning heliocentrical ball? Maybe it was going west, and you were just in it all day because you were driving with it. Anyway, Adam, have you got something to add? The doctor guy?
I will say I was probably hours away from meeting Nathan. Maybe last year. I forget exactly when it was. He was passing through St. Louis.
I remember you saying that now.
Yeah, and it was, I think work somehow ended up calling me in, or I didn't get my schedule till late, or something really goofy happened that it was just really, I really could have just walked out the door and drove out there and met him. But fuck the man. So yeah, if you could give Nathan a holler, that'd be awesome. We would love to get him on here.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'll definitely let him know. The beautiful thing about him is that, you know, he's under the control of a lot of like heliocentric subscribers. So he not under control, but he's dealing with them all the time. And that's why, like, I kind of like when I started like the Future of Flat Earth, it was originally supposed to be a debate group, and I pulled the trigger and I was like, you know what, I'm going to steer away from that because I don't want the headache. But this guy just he just absorbs the headache and he just fights it every day. Every day is a battle for him. You look back and we even me and him talking. I would just have anybody ever threatened your life and like all this other stuff, and it's pretty gnarly stuff, man. And Nathan Thompson is definitely somebody I would definitely recommend people to go out and see and be out with. He's always traveling, always doing conferences, always flying out. He's flying back out here next year in 2019, and just a wonderful, wholesome guy that that anybody should talk to. 100%.
Well, it does start to talk about the administrative end of these Facebook groups. I mean, just imagine. I think, and anybody that's signed up for the Future of Flat Earth knows sometimes there's a few questions that the page admins will put for the people signing up.
Yep.
And it seems like a pain in the ass, but imagine Nathan Thompson probably has to spend 2 hours a day going through thousands of names, just approve, deny, approve, deny, approve, deny. Yep. And it's just, and that's if you can do it every single day. Just imagine how many names if you don't do it for 3 days.
Yep.
And that's just on getting people into the group. Now think about how many dumbasses think, well, why don't you just go to the edge and take a picture?
Yeah. Yep.
Why does the sunshine everywhere? Why can't I see the Grand Canyon? I mean, they have to deal with all these stupid ass questions. And then
such a good
you have
point.
to be able to highlight those gems, the nuggets that are always in there. There's always people bringing beautiful stuff into these groups, and it's the admin's job. It's the people of the group members' job to be able to highlight to help spread that word. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. So I applaud all of you page admins, whether it's the Future of Flat Earth or the real Flat Earth versus Globe Earth. What the hell the name of that?
Official Flat Earth and Globe discussion.
Thank you. Yes, make sure it's the right wording.
There's so many copycat groups for that group. Instead of Flat Earth and Globe discussion, it'll be like the Flat Earth. It would be like the official Globe Earth, and like people have tried to like copycat that group. But you're right. I'm a moderator in that group, and modding that group, like I get like you have to like approve the posts, and I scroll through the posts sometimes. And Nathan basically made me a mod, so like when I wanted to post something, I didn't have to wait for it to be approved. That's basically, like I asked him, hey, can I be a mod there so I can just not like jump through hoops just to get something approved? And but I ended up, having to actually mod the group sometimes. And I read through the questions like for like approved posts that haven't, that they haven't been approved yet. So you can go down the list of all these approved posts, and oh my God, my brain just fries sometimes for how indoctrinated, I don't want to say stupid, but fucking stupid people literally you fucking idiots, go to the fucking edge and take a fucking picture. You're like it's just like you have to like break down these posts, and it's like, oh my God, it hurts my brain. And it just shows you like how truly indoctrinated like everybody is, because I'm looking at the masses come into this group, and they get like 1,000 requests a day to join the group. I would say probably like at least 500 to 1,000 a day, maybe more. And I'm constantly like I stay away from approving people. I stay away from a lot of that. I kind of just, monitor the group, make sure nobody's swearing and, abiding by the rules. But also my main reason to be there is I can reach out to the masses. Nathan's a friend of mine, and I can just post and not like when I need something to be out there, I can just post it, not have it be approved. And, so that's why he made me a moderator. But yeah, when I read through the, posts that need to be approved, it hurts my brain sometimes. And I even said that to him. I messaged him a couple times like, dude, I fucking can't believe you go through what you go through, man, having to friggin' deal with the shit that you're dealing with. Because the future of Flat Earth is really ran smooth. People come in, they join, they'll answer the questions. If you act up, you're gone right away. It's just Flat Earth. It's only sharing of information, where his group is, discussing and waking people up constantly. So you have that argument perspective all the time. So what you were saying, I back it up 100%. I couldn't imagine having to deal with the scrutiny of running something, an entity, a Facebook entity that large, and having to deal with the amount of trolls that Facebook groups that have to deal with when it comes to Flat Earth.
Yeah, it was the Facebook trolls that I cut my teeth on. And really, by the time I got to Twitter, I was just so over trying to even do much of anything with them that it didn't translate too well. So the Twitter account's not quite as active as I was on Facebook once upon a time. Even on Facebook nowadays, I'm pretty quiet. But
yep,
I'm here and I'm on TFR, and I wake up at 3 a.m. so I can do a show at 4 a.m. So I do put in where I can.
I think I did about 2 years of talking to diehard ballers, and then I found the block button. Or no, I put out my blog post to answer the idiotic questions I was getting day in, day out, and then I found the block button, and it's been plain sailing since then. Really, it's quite nice. Still get idiots coming along, but far less.
Yeah, it's you deal with a lot. When I even look through like the admin activity reports and stuff like on my group, I look back and I actually like scroll through and I like look at these people's profiles that they were declining to join the group and stuff, and it's crazy, man. Like there's nothing real out there anymore. Like you look on social media, it's so poisoned with trolls and people doing what they do, and it's hard. It's very hard.
Well, you say there's nothing real. There's nothing new either. In 3.5 years now, there's literally nothing new being put forward on the heliocentric model.
Yep, nothing. You would think it's a great point. You would think that with all the scrutiny that the heliocentric model is taken or is under right now, that they would there would be somebody out there, not the History Channel or Discovery Channel, where like Discovery Channel crushes Flat Earth, and then you look at the people in the video and it's like, okay, that girl works for NASA. Like literally one of the ladies in the helicopter works for NASA. She's talking about it. She's like, shut my helicopter door or something like that, and there's like no doors on the helicopter. Like it's so bad.
And they were using CGI.
And they were using CGI, exactly, man. Like it's absurd, and like I'll say you'll see people post that as like evidence of like flat Earth crushed by Discovery Channel. So do you know who the fuck is controlling these media outlets? Discovery Channel, History Channel, your radio programs. It's all the fucking same. Like it's the same people.
Well,
Same
I think Stephen Hawkins had a comment about that, didn't he, Josh? That that we could bring up, but maybe not. I feel sorry for Stephen Hawkins, to be perfectly honest. I feel sorry for his name. I feel sorry for what he was before he came down with whatever he came down with. I don't know.
A disease that people only live for like 3, 4, or 5 years with max.
10 years max, yeah, and he's
not fast enough.
He's not in the Guinness Book of Records, or even on the website, ALS website, as being a celebrity ALS sufferer or whatever. There is a backstory to that, and it will come out. I'll guarantee it.
Yep, it definitely will. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I can only imagine how many unemployed people there was after he died. You know, like to keep that lie going on, to keep that lie of like this person in a wheelchair. I mean, he's just rolling around smiling at people, and people like literally looking at him like he's like the smartest person, you know, of our generation.
Well, one of his last appearances was a sold-out Sydney Opera House, where he didn't even turn up. He was a hologram, and I think it was $200 a ticket. And you're just like, wow, what else can they? You know, they don't need to do anything. They can show you four blurry pixels on a black background and tell you that's Earth from some box satellite flying to Mars, and people will go, see, there you go, and you're just like, wow, that's now become proof and scientific evidence. They've measured it, dude. Who's they? You haven't. You can't. It drives me mad.
Yeah, well, I mean, anything that people come up with, they just think that somebody already figured it out, and that's the problem. Like, even me, you know, before, when I believed we lived on a globe, you know, or before I became a flat earther, you know, I would watch something on TV, and they would just say, hey, you know, this is what it is, and I would say, that's the truth. These people could not be lying to me. This is the History Channel, Discovery Channel, whatever it was, and just take it as truth, and never realize that I was just believing the words of another man instead of actually going out to prove it myself.
That's
It's
that's
not
what
on
I
regular
keep
TV.
hearing.
It's on History Channel. It has to be real. Come on, man.
Exactly.
That's what I keep hearing is, why should I test it when smarter people than I'll ever be have already tested it 100 years ago, or repeatedly tested it, or whatever, and you know, they create my reality. It's just like, wow. Go back to sleep. Goodbye.
Yep. So, like, let me actually give some questions to the host here, if you don't mind. So, all you guys here that I'm talking with right now, you've woken up to the lies and stuff, obviously. You know, where are you guys from, if you don't mind me asking? Like, where am I talking to you guys from?
I'm from the UK, southwest.
Nice.
I'm from Nottingham in the UK.
I'm down in
I'll,
South Louisiana, in case you didn't hear the accent.
I already knew where you were from, dude. You know. And
then yeah, me and Josh are both in Missouri now. I'm
Missouri,
from northern
nice.
Indiana, though.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it just shows you like that people from around the world. I mean, just shows a good example of it. That, you know, people are waking up to this lie that we've been fed, and to be here with you guys, it's been really cool, and you know, good honor, like talking to you guys
Thank
from all
you.
over the
Thank
world.
you for being here.
We
Absolutely.
do have a missing member
And
as well.
I was getting there. Thank you,
Go
Josh.
on then. Well,
No, go.
no,
But
you.
yeah, our buddy Rob, shout out to you, Rob, wherever you are over there with your
Yep.
sports ball. But
Yep.
yeah, he's from Australia. Yep. And then our other buddy James is up in Canada. And so we were stretched all across the plane at one point.
Nice. Yeah, I actually have some good links. I don't know if you guys know, you know, the guy in Australia that ran over all the Gwen Towers with the tank.
No. Oh, wow. No, I missed this. See, that's why we need to get Rob back around to keep us up to date on what's going on out there.
All right. So this guy, right? He worked for the government, and he was a scientist. 40 years he did for the, you know, serving the Commonwealth of Australia, and basically what happened was, when they started building all these Gwen Towers, they started building them there, and he knew what they really were, and he stole a fucking tank, right? This guy's a fucking legend in Australia. Stole a tank, and he ran over like 7 Gwen Towers, and Billy Zagaris, who's an engineer. He used to design like parts for printers, like the big like commercial printers. Really smart guy, unbelievably smart. One of the smartest guys I've ever met. He's writing a book right now about flat Earth. I mean, amazingly smart, amazingly flat Earth smart guy. He knows this guy, this scientist who worked for the for all the Commonwealth of Australia or whatever, and so this guy ended up doing like 5 years in prison. And here's the cool thing, right? So I have a connection to this guy right now, and we're gonna be I'm gonna be talking with him for one of the future Flat Earth episodes, and this guy took a fucking tank and ran him over. Now, so what happened was, you would think like, okay, they're either going to kill you or give you a life sentence or something like that. But his crimes, quote unquote crimes, weren't, you can't really say them as crimes. So as far as the money that was lost, this is the beautiful part, is the money that was lost in the destruction of these Gwen towers, which equaled millions of dollars. This guy, right, they won't take him to court as far as like paying it back, because if he goes to court to pay the money back, then you have to actually put what he did under a spotlight. So the fucking Australian government is not even trying to. They gave him his time. They convicted him. They say, "Oh, you stole this tank. You ran over these towers. You did this. You're a crazy government employee, whatever." They won't bring him to court to pay back the damages that was done, because in a civil court, or I'm assuming it's a civil court in Australia, I don't know, but to pay back money, you have to present evidence. Okay, why were these destroyed? It's like me like holding up a big evil thing and saying this is going to kill you, and you taking it down, and now you have to pay me back for building this evil thing that could kill you or fuck with your life. The reason why they don't want to bring him to court, so the guy went to prison, right? One of the smartest scientists you'll ever fucking meet, and he comes out of prison.
John Patterson. I finally found
John
him.
Patterson. Yep, exactly. You know who I'm talking about. So I didn't really want to throw many names out there, but we're going to be doing an interview with this guy. Now, this guy's like living like off the grid now. Okay. And they won't take him to court. They won't do it. They won't make him pay back the money that is owed for destroying these fucking towers with a tank. And the fucking best thing about it is that if you look into the details, it's because the court system knows if they bring him to court to pay the fucking money back, you have to present proof that he did the wrong thing. But they don't want that evidence coming to court, because guess what? If he hires a $1,000 lawyer, like anybody can say, okay, well, look at the patents. These Gwen towers under this patent are being designed to use this. They don't want that smoke. They don't want that smoke in the mainstream media. So they gave him his time. He did his time. He's out, and now they won't even pay. They won't even make him pay back any of the retributions for any of the damages that he did to any of the towers that he brought down.
Well, you've got in the law system, you've got discovery, and that's what they're very, very scared of. And it's why a lot of people get paid off rather than ending up having their day in court. But just for an ignorant Brit, what's a Gwen tower? Is it those electrical harvesting things?
So basically, the Gwen towers are these towers that are going up everywhere. I can't speak for anywhere outside the United States. I know Brazil, they went up, and you can watch videos of them burning them down in Brazil. I mean, they torch these things. They wanted nothing to do with them. Here in the United States, they go up like candy. I can, like I said, I can go on my porch and I can see one sticking up over the trees.
Well, of course, it makes your cell phone work better, man. Come on.
Yeah. Faster, right? But like 5G, 4G technology, that's all military technology. They release it. Those energy waves. The military says, okay, you can have 4G now. So then that gets released. So 5G is like a fucking microwave. We're basically sticking us all in a microwave. And these towers went up, and now there's these patents. Okay, and I test anybody that's listening right now, look, research this shit. There's patents that literally everything is based off an electromagnetic field, like we were talking about earlier, this magnetic field, we operate on positive energies, and we like everything is supposed to be at a certain field. Now these towers have fucking like Samsung TVs that are made to mind control you. Can It's not like you say it, you sound crazy, but then you actually Google the patent and it literally says it's in this fucking TV. It's the same thing with these Gwen towers, that these towers are being placed all around us and they're fucking with our energy waves. They're literally bringing us to a negative energy, and that there's also beyond that, they are used to be as weapons for cancer, for causing all sorts of complications with our lives and stuff. And you see these towers going up everywhere. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Like I'm driving to work and I'll look at a Gwen tower and be like, oh my God, like just mind-boggling that thousands of other people are driving by this weapon that is literally standing up in front of their face. In the background, you got chemtrails and shit. You know what I mean? Like you got so much of this government shit in your life that's fucking with you, and nobody pays attention to it at all.
These are like the covert weapons I was talking about earlier. So you're talking about the towers. We've got them here in the UK where they have sort of rectangle boxes attached to them, going out in all angles, and they generally put them on top of schools and hospitals.
And churches too, I've noticed.
Oh, really?
Well, as near as I can tell, I think they have to like lease out a space. Like they were going to put up a billboard on somewhere, and you want to put a billboard on somebody's side of their building. You just pay them a little money every month, and you paint your billboard on the side of their barn or whatever it is. I think it's the same way with these towers. So they lease a spot and they erect these towers. So you look at the people that they're offering this opportunity to. Yep. We'll pay you all this free money if you just let us use a little bit of your vertical space that you're not using anyway.
I have a good friend of mine.
I mean, kids are healthy and old people aren't going to be here much longer anyway. So sure, give us the check.
I have a good friend of mine, right? And he works for, he's been in, now the satellite, or not satellite, but the tower industry, like cell phone towers and stuff. It's not really a new industry. So anybody that's been in it for 10, 15, 20 years, like this is like you're a veteran at that point. Like you're worth a lot of money to the field. And I know a good friend of mine that I grew up with also as well, and he got into working on cell phone towers when he was like 17, 18 years old, and he ended up just going through the industry. And I sat him down and talked with him one time, and I was like, dude, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys working on out there? And he goes, dude, a lot of time we don't even fucking know. And I was like, okay, so if a satellite is passing over you at 17,000 miles per hour, is it possible for this technology to link with that and continuously, transmit, all this other shit? He goes, no. He's not even a flat earther. I was just asking him these questions on from an outside perspective. And he knows that the shit he's working on and the shit that he's building are fucking weapons. That just shows you that they don't even know what the hell they're working on. A lot of these people, they don't even know what the hell that shit is, but they know how to fix it, repair it, or do whatever they need to do to it.
Pays the bills.
Yeah, it pays the bills, exactly. And this guy has been in the industry since he is like a guy that you're talking since the towers started first going up. He's been in the industry, and somebody I went to school with and stuff back a long time. Well, I won't say a long time. I'm 35. I'm not that old, but he's been in the tower industry, which isn't that long. You bring up carpentry, masonry, anything else, it goes back years and years and years and years. But literally, the cell phone tower industry only goes back 20 years. 25 years before they started building these.
Martin Leakey might disagree with that, and Adam, you follow that a lot closer than I do.
I don't think that's so much what you're suggesting, which is harmful stuff. I think that the Martin's sort of stuff is more harnessing natural energy and using it. In terms of those towers, but I think Yeah, there's a prevalence of
I don't
these
know.
things.
We've all seen the old lady in the Charlie Chaplin film chatting away on her smartphone there. And then there's the lady walking out of the group at work, and she's getting ready for her evening out, chatting away on her cell phone. I don't know. I've seen the video, hadn't you?
It's just the patents that are being used inside these towers. You research the number of the patent, and when you bring it up, like, these things are fucking weapons. They're not. Like, you can read everything about them, and the patents that they're used are being used in these towers, and when you critically analyze it, it becomes back as it's a fucking weapon.
So
It's a weapon. Like, mind control technology.
5G.
What? Yep.
5G's obviously. I mean, I see what you're talking about as the infrastructure that's going to deliver 5G, and again, I think that is a covert weapon. I think it's not even that covert, to be perfectly honest. It's never been fully tested on human beings, millimeter wave scans and things like that. So, is this is an infrastructure in place already, isn't it? Really.
It feels like that because they're hiding these things. Like, they'll make like a Gwen tower, and it will just be like, it will look like a pine tree. And they got so desperate that you go down south and you look, and they're making these Gwen towers into cactuses. And like why would they have to ever do that? And I remember seeing my first one. It was probably like 10, 15 years ago, but maybe 15 years. I'll go with the latter of it. It was probably about 15 years ago. And I remember seeing this tree coming up on the side of a highway, and it had all these pine needles like coming off, but it was clearly like a tower of some sort. It was just like designed as a tree. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, cool. They're making like these cell phone towers look like pine trees. Like, that's what I thought as a child. And now that I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, they're putting them in cactuses. They're putting them in like all these other like hidden designs. None of it adds up.
But it's interesting you say that, like, it's becoming too obvious, and people are becoming opposed to these towers, which literally, like you say, are appearing everywhere. I remember watching a 5G documentary, which was talking about these sort of mini. It's like a Wi-Fi booster or something that has to. I mean, it will be in inside shops. It will be on the streets. It will be, and they're no bigger than a PlayStation or something, or even less. So they're not going to need these towers anymore, because literally these boxes putting out things are going to be absolutely everywhere, and probably already are, and we don't even know it. I don't know what's up my telephone pole, 10 meters from my house. I have no idea what the hell is attached to that.
We had one of those huge pine tree towers sitting upon a hill. That's another thing you'll notice is look at the elevation of a lot of these towers. They're going to be at the highest elevation. But it was up there for a long time, I bet you, because it's been down. They replaced it for a real obvious one maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but it was up for probably at least 8 or 10 years. And my mom, who used to live here, was visiting back in town, and we were driving past it. She says, oh, I've always loved the sight of that big lonesome pine. I just started laughing at her. I said, hey, just keep an eye on that big lonesome pine as we drive close to it. So yeah, she felt pretty stupid, but then we had a long conversation about the dangers of living underneath these towers. But yeah, they're going to inundate the entire neighborhood, the entire world. They're going to create a whole web around this world, a network of webs that go around this whole world and interconnect everything. Sounds like a real good idea.
But it's interesting you sort of laughed about having them on high altitude locations. How many of you have had that thrown at you that you know, you can. I'm down at the beach and I can't see an island, and I go to the top of a cliff and I can. Duh, the Earth is a ball. How many of you have come across that? I get it. I see to get it all the time.
Way all the time on Twitter. You know this.
Yeah, that's one of those questions that, I mean, I think it's been answered multiple times. It's not hard to understand about how angles and lights work and how our eyes now work. People have really covered this topic quite a bit. And I've been thinking about it even. And since I've been driving over a lot of hills and whatnot I've been paying attention, and I can create a mirage on a flat surface much larger than you can on any curved surface.
Yep.
The curved surface, you might get just a hair, just a little tiny hair across the edge. That angular resolution limit doesn't have a far of enough surface
Exactly.
to block out.
Yep.
That's right, because that comes back to the simple picture of looking at a sunset or a moon rise or set or whatever over water, and you get that column of water right to the edge of the water near your feet, sort of thing. I mean, it is literally that simple. That would not happen on a curved surface, and that sort of thing just bowls me away every day. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, the curved surface thing, the best way to put it is like mainstream science is like told us that, you know, you can go to the beach and, like, you know, you can see something disappear over the curvature. But I grew up as an artist. Like, I used to draw. I used to do a lot of spray paint work. You know, like I used to be like, you know, on the trains and stuff when I was like 17, like spray painting the trains and stuff. Like, I was that kid. But like, as far as art is concerned, like you have to put this into perspective, and that's what perspective is all about. Is that, like, if you look down like a long hallway, and the floor will rise and the ceiling will sink, and that's how you draw a long hallway. And people don't really get that as far as like perspective on like flat earth. So it's something like you have to be in tune with like reality and kind of deprogram yourself from what we've been taught. And like even a modern school book will teach you that a boat disappears over the horizon, but if you stand there with the same camera, any type of zoom, even phones nowadays, like even phones are capable of doing this, and you see something disappear over it, and you can pull it back into perspective. You know, that's not light bending. You know, I've had sunsets where like I filmed the sun go down, and it was almost completely 100% behind the horizon, and I just zoomed in, and boom, I pulled the whole sun back into perspective. It ended up being way above the horizon or the vanishing point, and it just shows you that perspective is like so hard for people to grasp, but yet it's such a simple concept. Even when you look up and you see a chemtrail, like you'll see a chemtrail and it'll look like a nosedive or like something shooting straight up. It's not shooting straight up, it's not nosediving, it's just going away from you, or it's just coming at you. And that's what gives you that line that goes straight up. And that's something that a lot of people may, any listeners that are out there that don't grasp concept, like that's how it works. Like what's above you will sink down and what's below you will rise up, and you come to a vanishing point. And modern science won't change that. Like we have the technology to prove that that's not true. And that's what gets me, is that no matter how you could prove something is true, the mainstream science will not touch it in the textbooks for elementary schools. Or, you know, you go to school and, you know, what do they teach you? That 1 + 1 = 2, and you live on a ball. And you say to your teacher, well, how do people stick upside down on this ball right here? And they'll just like say, oh, gravity. Oh, okay. And then you just leave it alone at that point. But people don't actually research what perspective works. Just look down a hotel hallway. Just look down your street. you'll see your street appear to rise, and you'll see the clouds above you appear to sink, and that becomes your vanishing point. And that's something that's so important to people waking up, is realizing your perspective that's in front of you. Because I've had people say to me, well, if the earth is flat, why can't I see fucking the the Eiffel Tower from New York City? And I think to myself, listen, I'm an artist and I understand, but like, you really think you'd fucking be able to see that? Like, do you really think you'd be able to see that from that far away? Like, there's no weather, waves, dust in the air. Air's a liquid. It's something that you have atmospheric lensing, and you have all these different things that come into play. And you really think we have a populace of people that go, well, if the earth is flat, then why can't I see fucking China from my mom's basement? It's like, dude, that's really your best reasoning to why the earth isn't flat, is because you can't see fucking China from your mom's basement? Like, dude, you can't even see down the end of your fucking street. Never mind a tower in a country that's thousands of miles away. And that's your proof that you live on a ball. Okay. It's just mind-boggling how people can be so not down to earth.
It's just clutching at straws, isn't it? It's just
so painful. So painful.
Clinging on to their paradigm being shattered with such simple and observable, repeatable.
Let it go.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, why do you really care if you live on a spinning ball? Does it really matter? But the fact that you don't really does matter, because it means you've been lied to about everything. And the whole house of cards comes crumbling down, doesn't it?
It does. And I think it was Mark Sargent or somebody. I don't know who it was, but it was like Mark Sargent or somebody like that. They gave me this example, or they presented it in a documentary, and it is like the most perfect, beautiful example of why flat Earth matters. So I will say to somebody, if you go to everybody on the show has ran a red light, I'm assuming, right? Like, you drive, you run a red light, right? Is everybody's guilty of that? Can I say that at least? Okay, we're all guilty of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right, so you come to a red light and you run that red light. And say it's like you come home from work and it's just a light that you just come across and it's red. It doesn't matter. It's late at night. You drive through it, whatever. So then, like, say there's I'm building off of his premise, I guess you could say, and I'm going to kind of try and make it a little more dramatic by saying there's a neighbor there, and that neighbor is really mad and complains to the county or the town you live in, and that town puts a fucking camera on top of that red light. So you come home and this old lady's sick of you running that red light because she's so mad at life or whatever, and you run the red light, and now you get a ticket in the mail. And then, so now your license could be suspended eventually if you get another ticket. It's $150 or whatever it is that costs for you to run a red light. So all these things come into play. And then you go back to that same person who ran the red light and you say, okay, you realize you got caught. Okay, you're running that red light. Old lady got pissed off. Town builds put a camera on top of the red light. And now you run that red light. Would you run that red light again? And everybody says no. I mean, assholes will say, yeah, fuck that red light, but the 98% of the people out there will say, I won't run that red light because I need my license. I need to be the ability, or I need the ability to drive. I need my license. You know what I mean? But you're 1 or 2 tickets away from losing your license and not being able to drive. Are you going to run that fucking red light? And the 98% of them say no, of course not. And I just say that's flat Earth in a nutshell right there. If the entire world knew they had that red light camera on top of them, you're not going to run that fucking red light. That boils down to everything we do in life, from war to all these horrible things we deal, hunger, all these things we deal with in life that we suffer for other people, for what they have to go through and what we're blessed to be, have a roof over our heads and stuff. that becomes flat Earth in a nutshell. Is that red light camera? You're not going to run that fucking red light if you knew that there was a creator above that looking at you while you pulled up to that red light. So the murder, the rape, all the horrible things that we have in this earth. People go, well, what does it matter what the shape of the earth is? That red light is what matters. It's because if everybody knew they had that person above them, then the large majority would not do what they do. And
I think that's an interesting analogy, without a doubt. And the only thing I would say, from my point of view, is that it wasn't flat Earth that realised there was a camera on top of the red light. It was the destruction of evolution and realising that things could not evolve from other things. You couldn't have a water creature suddenly flopping onto the land and giving birth to two two offspring that mated and carried on the flopping onto land, and then discovered that they could grow limbs and wings and feathers and all this sort of shit. The flat Earth, I can understand how the flat Earth can occur without there being a creator necessarily, but the evolution side of things, that pushed me over the edge in terms of the camera on top of the red light. I think that's a cracking analogy. And it does change the way you conduct your life. It does change, whether you like it or not. It changes the way you conduct yourself.
No matter how many fish flop up onto the shore, gills will never become lungs. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, I remember looking at that model. I think South Park, the show, I think we're all familiar with South Park, the cartoon. They do this skit on like fish flopping onto the shore and becoming life form. They do. And
it's brilliant.
So genius.
I think is it Cartman is standing in front and going, yeah, basically this is evolution. Oh no, it's that.
No, it was Mr.
Whatever his name is. Yeah.
Then a fucking fish came onto the fucking shore, started flapping. All you fucking the way they explain it is like, holy shit, that's what we fucking believe.
It's like 5 minutes, isn't it? Man, if you Josh, if you want to get your voice, the Garrison, if you want to get your voice modulator on that, and you think we'd get away with it, then mate, that is 5 minutes. That's hilarious. Yeah, glad you brought that up, Brendon. Crack me up.
It's literally the reality of what people live, and that's the most beautiful thing about. Like, you look at like shows like South Park, and it's like, oh my god, you could not have more truth be presented in such a funny fucking way. Like, it's so genius the way they did that episode, and it's almost like the people that are out there. If I was in media or I was presenting a show like South Park, I'd be like, you know what? Let's put the truth out there and just make it funny. People eat it up. They eat it up like candy. And the funniest thing is that is so much truth to what was said in that little 5-minute clip that it's just absolutely mind-boggling.
The one where they do the Book of Mormon.
They drop these things every time, don't they? So many times. And you've got to wonder what their motivation is. Even a film like The Matrix, I mean, there is conspiracy behind it, behind the makers and that sort of thing, but you've just got to wonder if there are people possibly like us in those positions of power that can do this.